right here, let's sit down, right here, don't go, no way, yeah, I like that, bring that, right here, let's sit down, right there, don't go, nowhere, little baby gon' shake that, 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 yeah, I like that, bring that, right here, let's sit down, right there, don't.
Yo, what up, YouTube? We back with another reaction video. We are reacting to Crime Dynasty. 5 times rappers mess with the wrong cartels. Now look, just before we even get into this, why are you playing with the cartel? Do you know what they do? Like, have you seen what they do? Like, what is wrong with y'all?
3. Mexican rapper Peso Pluma stood in front of a massive crowd of 100,000 people while he paid homage to the notorious drug lord El Chapo. This didn't sit right with the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, and what they did next would haunt Peso Pluma forever. Here are 5 times rappers messed with the wrong cartel members. Number 5. Peso Pluma. Mexican megastar Peso Pluma.
One more thing. I'm so glad it wasn't a black person shown in those 5. Cause I'd be like, bro, your brain doesn't work. Y'all brain definitely don't work. Cause y'all should know. Like, you be in Mexico with the nigga. Y'all be near them niggas. Y'all grew up seeing this. Like, we just know from word of mouth. Like, don't play with them.
Was on stage performing during the 2-day-long music festival in the nation's capital. However, during his performance, he held the mic towards the Mexico City crowd of an estimated 100,000 people as they sang the initials JGL in unison. This was a reference to Joaquin Guzman Lora, alias El Chapo. Pluma's homage to the incarcerated drug lord El Chapo may not have held significant meaning for him, but to the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, it resonated deeply, and they vowed to exact retribution. June 15th, 1999. Pluma, real name Hassan Emilio Cabandelaya, was born in the municipality of Zapopan, Jalisco, Mexico. Keep in mind that the state of Jalisco is home to the CJNG. But unlike other teenagers his age, Peso Pluma never got involved with cartels, at least not yet. He began playing the guitar at the age of 15, watching YouTube videos. Then later on, he started writing songs in a diary. He found inspiration for his songs in the work of Chalino Sanchez and Ariel Camacho, 2 singers of narco corridos, which tell stories about the Mexican drug trade. If there's one thing you should know about the narco corridos genre of music, it's that the singers often become targets of high-profile drug lords, especially when an artist glorifies their enemies. But being born in and around violence, Peso wasn't about to get himself trapped in the middle of any animosity, so he found his own sound and had a major breakthrough across the borders of Mexico in July 2022. Genesis, his 3rd studio album, made its debut on the Billboard All-Genre Album chart at number 3, the highest position ever for an album of regional Mexican music, along with getting billions of streams on Spotify. Pretty impressive, right? Well, yeah, but at the same time, Peso Pluma glorified El Chapo in a few songs, and it got him into a lot of trouble. In the song Siempre Pendientes, which translates to Always Ready, Pluma sings in first-person style about the life of a Sinaloa cartel member who guards El Chapo. This didn't sit well with the CJNG, who felt Pluma was using his rapid rise in the music industry to glorify their #1 rival. So, they decided to send a warning. September 12th, 2023. 4 banners were placed over bridges in the city of Tijuana, warning Peso Pluma to cancel his upcoming concert in the city on October 14th. They further stated on the banners that if he didn't, it would be his last because of his disrespectful tongue. All banners were signed by the CJNG, pointing to the fact that the message came from him. Now at the time, Peso Pluma was in the US rehearsing for his MTV Video Music Award performance the following day. But if we're being honest, Peso Pluma isn't the first artist to sing about El Chapo, so what makes him an enemy of the CJNG? Well, for starters, Peso is one of the biggest Mexican artists right now. He's got over 11 million followers on Instagram, and his songs are now a favorite amongst Americans and the Western world. On the other hand, Tijuana has been a major place of conflict for cartels. The city near the border and its nearby areas have been disputed territories for a long time. They're often called plazas when talking about which criminal cartels control them in Mexico. The modern drug wars in the city began in the late 80s and 90s when the Guadalajara cartel split, leading to groups led by El Chapo and Ismael El Mayo Zambada in Sinaloa and the Arellano Felix family in Tijuana. Power in Tijuana shifted between different factions that emerged from these initial groups over the years. Recently, other criminal groups have also moved into the region, with the CJNG being one of the most prominent. To put it into context, Tijuana consistently has one of the highest homicide rates in the country, as various criminal organizations continue to vie for control. Now, what this simply means is that Peso Pluma holding a concert in this city while paying homage to El Chapo and the Sinaloa cartel in his songs would be undermining the CJNG's power in the city. Besides, Pluma is also from Jalisco, where the CJNG takes its name, so they probably believe the name El Mencho should be on his lips instead of Chapo. However, Peso Pluma has refused to address the reason why he honors El Chapo and the Sinaloa cartel in his songs. He even hung up on a call on an LA Times reporter who once asked. Eventually, Peso Pluma and his team had to cancel the Tijuana show as a way to ensure his safety. We've seen the execution of the CJNG. These guys don't bluff when they issue threats like that. Earlier in 2023, a narco corrido band from Sinaloa State called Grupo Arriesgado was at a Tijuana mall signing autographs ahead of a planned concert when gunmen fired shots near the crowd. A banner signed by the Jalisco cartel was left at the scene, warning the band to leave the city or suffer the consequences. At the end of the day, Peso Pluma won't be the first, and he certainly won't be the last, to receive such a warning from the extremely dangerous cartel. Now the question is, what are the odds the CJNG won't orchestrate an attack on him if he performs in a different Mexican state? Number 4. Chalino Sanchez. That was the iconic Chalino Sanchez reading the death note handed to him during his last performance in Mexico. He wiped the sweat off his forehead and looked around him in fear of what was to come next. Chalino was obviously not a rapper, he was a singer and a musical icon in Mexico. However, his genre of music and his life leading up to his death is by far one of the most bone-chilling stories you'll hear today. I promise you. August 30th, 1960 marked the birth of Chalino in Sinaloa, Mexico. He came from a very poor background as he lived with both his parents, his 7 brothers, and his only sister. He was also a very mischievous child and did a lot of bad things to survive. In 1975, when Chalino was just 15, his sister was kidnapped, raped, and then sent home naked by several men. Chalino swore to seek revenge for his sister. He knew that a local man named El Chapo Perez was one of those responsible. 4 years later, his opportunity for retribution arrived. He was
I'm sorry, my brain is just... How many El Chapos is it? It can't be the same nigga, right? It can't be.
At a party when he saw Perez carrying a gun. He approached him and shot him at very close range, instantly ending his life. A gunfight erupted and Chalino managed to escape. However, Perez's men saw his face, so he couldn't go back home. Chalino ran away from Sinaloa that night, but by morning, the troubles that would eventually lead to his death began. He moved to Tijuana, where he was helping Mexicans cross into the U.S. Eventually, Chalino himself would cross over and move to L.A., where he dealt with small quantities of marijuana and cocaine with one of his brothers. However, by the time he moved back to Mexico, his brother was killed. He was arrested and jailed for about 18 months. But listen closely, because this is when Chalino began writing narco corrido songs, glorifying the life of drug traffickers. Controversial? Yeah, but at the time, no other artist was doing it, so it made Chalino very famous. Once he got out of jail, he traveled back to LA. He hired a band to record his music and went on to play live at packed venues in the city. In 1989, Chalino recorded his first 15 songs and revolutionized the music scene in LA and Mexico. He was making millions of dollars, selling out shows all around Mexico. but one show in particular made Chalino realize his days may be running out. January 25, 1992, Sanchez was performing at the Plaza Los Arcos restaurant and nightclub in the desert city of Coachella. While on stage, he was taking song requests from the audience when a man named Eduardo Gallegos climbed up and made a request. Immediately, when he got on stage, he took out his pistol and shot Chalino 4 times. Chalino in turn pulled out his pistol and shot back. Took a hit to the armpit, however, he survived. But from that moment on, he knew that any show he did next could be his last. Due to the Coachella incident, Chalino sold the rights to his music to a record label, using the money for a down payment on a house for his wife and 2 kids. To complete the payment for the house and to leave his family with a fortune in case anything happened to him, Chalino accepted a gig to perform in the dreaded city of Culiacan. If you didn't already know, Culiacan's home to the Sinaloa Cartel. They control every corner and every street. Chalino knew it was a dangerous move to perform there, considering his type of music. However, he was ready to step into the belly of the beast, as long as his family would be safe. Sadly, he would not survive. May 15th, 1992. Despite warnings from his family, friends, and even death threats, Chalino went on to perform at Salon Bougainvilleas in Culiacan. In what seemed like deja vu, a fan pushed their way to a request. But from the look on his face, it was not a request, but a message informing him that his performance there would be his last. You can see the fear on his face the moment he read that note. Regardless, he continued singing. After the show, he left with his 2 brothers, a cousin, and several young women. On their way home, they would be stopped by armed men in Chevrolet Suburbans claiming to be police. One of the men flashed his badge and said to Chalino, "My comandante needs you." Chalino and his brothers tried to offer the men money since it wasn't uncommon for Mexican police to accept bribes. Unfortunately, they refused the offer. Chalino gave himself up to the men and they sped off with him. 12 hours later, 2 farmers stumble across a man in a ditch with rope marks around his wrists and 2 bullet holes in the back of his head. It was Chalino Sanchez. But who killed him? An investigation would be carried out, but nothing would turn up. The massive corruption in Mexico likely played a role in the unsolved mystery, but according to close sources, there are 3 main suspects to hold responsible. First, we have El Chapo Perez's associates, seeking retribution for a past murder that had forced Chalino to flee Mexico. Second, we have Mr. Gallegos, the individual who shot Chalino at Coachella. And lastly, there's the Sinaloa Cartel. It's likely the first 2 had cartel connections and arranged for his death. However, it's unconfirmed. Also, because Chalino took commissions from actual cartel members, it is possible the Sinaloa Cartel saw Chalino as a tool for other cartels and took him out. Number 3. Mr. Yossi Locote. April 19th, 2018. The body of 42-year-old Mexican rapper Mr. Yossi Locote was dumped in an empty lot in the western city of Guadalajara. A screwdriver was stabbed into his chest with a note from the cartel that orchestrated his death, the CJNG. Now this guy over here got in trouble with an extremely dangerous cartel without even being Mexican. He was born in the U.S. on January 20th, 1976 in Bakersfield, California. However, along the line, Mr. Locote found himself in the city of Guadalajara, Mexico, where he joined a street gang and also delved into rap. My Mexican friends in the building would definitely know his 2 iconic songs, Palazos and Esto Es En Serio. Now these were the songs that put him on the map as one of the biggest rappers in the country. He was an OG in the game. He rapped about his experiences on the street in a very honest way, kind of like Mexico's Snoop Dogg. And I mean that in a very good way. But the biggest mistake he would make during his life is associating himself with one of the CJNG's biggest enemies. And no, it was not El Chapo or the Sinaloa Cartel. It was the hardened criminal and drug lord El Cholo. Now before I say anything else, I want you to really understand something here. Mexican street gangs, mafiosos, and cartels all operate different corners of the criminal underworld. They may come across a dealing or 2, but they're all separate entities, and they barely cross each other's boundaries. However, when they do, things get heated, and people die. And that's exactly how Mr. Yossi Locote found himself killed. Now, he was a member of LA street gang Florence 13. They would soil their hands in white powder drug smuggling, and with the blood of hundreds of murders they've orchestrated. And although the gang operated in LA, a Mexican chapter was established after the US launched Operation Joker's Wild, deporting hundreds of these gang members back to Mexico and indicting a lot more federal charges. Mr. Yossi Lakode was a high-ranking member of Florence 13. Despite being a hip-hop star, he aligned himself with another group called the Sureños, a Southern California gang linked to the Mexican mafia. They would flaunt blue bandanas associated with the Sureño gangs and adopted what is known as the Cholo dress code, which involves carrying shaved heads and wearing baggy tees. However, as I explained, the cartels don't necessarily bother themselves with the affairs of street gangs. But after U.S. rap label Circulo Asesino signed Mr. Yossi Lakode, and he released his first album in 2012 titled 13 Hood Rules, things would fire up. The Florence 13 fought to gain more territory in Guadalajara, and at the same time the CJ&G were relatively new to the city. Now, these guys were behind massacres. They had deadly ambushes of security forces, and even rocket launcher attacks on several military choppers. But the one thing that CJ&G did to calm the storm was kidnap Mr. Yossi Lakode, April 17, 2018. 2 days before his lifeless body was found, Mr. Yossi Lakode was kidnapped from a local market in Guadalajara. His kidnap was orchestrated by the CJ&G, and as much as I hate to say it, that was a very calculated move from the cartel. They knew one of the major reasons behind the sudden rise of the street gang in the city was because of Mr. Lakode's influence in the area. So if he was gone, there'd be nobody for his associates to look up to, making it easier for them to come in and sweep the gang out. And in typical CJ&G style, they wouldn't just shoot a bullet straight to his head. They would hold him down while mercilessly stabbing him to death with a screwdriver. As painful as that might have been, they didn't stop there. They left a note, like they always do. But this one read, "This is gonna happen to all those who keep supporting Cholo." While fans demanded justice, no one has been charged with this murder. And although the death of Mr. Yossi Lakode sparked domestic media interest, it'd be nothing compared to the storm of global attention that stirred the following week with the arrest of another rapper named QBA.
Not Cuba, brother?
Number 2. QBA. One golden rule all CJ&G members are compelled to follow is to never, and I mean never, snitch on the affairs of the organization. April 22nd, 2018. QBA indirectly put a huge target on his back by flaunting this golden rule. After divulging classified information to Mexican authorities on some of his affairs and dealings with the cartel. Now you see, 24-year-old Christian Palma, known as QBA, was a famous rapper to the public, but behind closed doors, he was nothing more than El Mencho's puppet. He and Mr. Yossi Lakode, whom we talked about earlier, were the pioneers of rap malandro, or thug rap, which in my opinion is a soundtrack used for the country's drug war. His YouTube channel had over 200,000 subscribers and millions of views. On the other side, his videos weren't really what you'd expect from a mainstream artist. The videos were shot in poor neighborhoods of Guadalajara, the state capital of Jalisco, and featured the youth brandishing guns and taking drugs. Some of his lyrics talked about meth and different massacres from the cartel, marking QBA's first steps into the CJ&G's bad books. March 19th, 2018, 3 film students, Javier Salomon, Daniel Diaz, and Marco Avalos, were kidnapped from the town of Tonalá in western Jalisco state. These 3 students were filming at a ranch belonging to the CJ&G, leading QBA and 2 other CJ&G members mistaken them as members of a rival cartel. After the missing persons report of these 3 students came out, the entire nation was outraged. It was Mexico v. the CJ&G. Meanwhile, in the camp of the cartel, QBA and his men were still under the assumption that these guys were rival cartel members. They tortured one of them, Javier Salomon, and after that, they had no other option than to kill off the rest. In a normal scenario, these guys would have dropped off the bodies on a random street, but seeing how outraged Mexicans had gotten over the case, they decided to melt off the bodies in sulfuric acid, and QBA was the man for the job. You see, QBA was paid about $150 a week by the CJ&G to melt dead bodies in acid. And I know what you're thinking, if he was a rapper, wasn't he supposed to be making way more than that? Well, While it did seem like that on the outside, that wasn't really the case. His label was taking a huge chunk of his earnings, leaving him with crumbs. So it's safe to say he was practically broke. But anyway, none of that really mattered. It was after his arrest and confession that QBA got himself into a lot of trouble. So, what exactly did he say? In his confession, he detailed his link to the CJNG through the infamous street gang in Furnace 21. However, after the gang disbanded, he joined the Cartel. In some lyrics to his songs, he glorified crystal meth, crack, and other inhalants. That was his way of paying homage to the CJNG for being at the top of the meth market in Mexico. Now, during his confession, QBA gave a full account of the CJNG's meth production, from smuggling chemicals through Mexico's seaports to cooking the final product in clandestine labs. Now, why would he do this? Or here's a better question. Why would he reveal it when he knows fully well they would stop at nothing to kill him? Well, some say it's because they allegedly killed one of his closest friends, Luis Sebo Estrada, the previous year. But regardless, QBA should have known better. The CJNG as a criminal organization is unstoppable. Not the Mexican government, not the DEA, and certainly not QBA's confession can shake the foundation of this cartel's operations. He just sold himself out to the cops who might throw him back into the hands of the cartel. Except, he had an alternate plan. After his arrest and alleged confession, many rappers had released tracks to celebrate him. The most popular of these was Free QBA by A.B. Perez, another rapper who was himself arrested on a double murder charge in July 2018. QBA is now seen as the messiah of hip-hop in Mexico. He has set an example.
That is so crazy how things, how different cultures are. Because Mexico is basically run by the cartels, being brave enough to actually speak out and speak on the atrocities that they are committing is actually praised. Like America, where it's like, nah, bro, he's a snitch. Da-da-da-da. He was doing dirt. Da-da-da-da. Why would he da-da-da-da? Like, bro, I ain't gonna lie. Not that I'd be like, yeah, I'll snitch on a nigga, but if you doing dirt, my nigga, sooner or later it's gonna come to the light regardless. You might as well tell on your damn self. That's what they doing on IG anyway.
Example with himself that not the cartel nor the Mexican government can take away his truth. Right now, he's at Guadalajara's Puente Grande prison, where he could face the max penalty of 140 years. But is he really safe behind bars, or will they orchestrate an attack from the inside? Well, I guess we have to wait and find out. And number 1, Lefty SM. September 2nd, 2023. Famous Mexican rapper Lefty SM was murdered by 3 gunmen in his home located in Jalisco, Mexico. Some say it was a robbery gone wrong, but according to his wife, she thinks it was a planned attack. So what exactly happened? Born on April 22, 1992 in San Luis Rio, Colorado, Mexico, Lefty SM's journey into the music world began at an early age. His nickname Lefty was affectionately given by his close friends due to his left-handedness. He started pursuing music at the age of 16, all while maintaining his day job as a mechanic. His early work would showcase a strict hip-hop sound with slow G-funk beats. It was pretty dope, and it drew influences from various genres, creating a unique and versatile style, allowing him to seamlessly switch between delivering unrestrained bars and crooning soulfully. This unique style of his led him to sign with renowned label Alzada Records. It was a massive one for him, but was also the beginning of his end. A prominent figure in Mexico's urban rap scene, Lefty SM gained international recognition through YouTube, amassing 2.5 million followers after his launch in 2017. His debut album, Avión de Papel, released in 2019, also showcased more of his talent. He would follow that up with a patriotic single, Por Mi México, a collaboration with Santa Fe Clan the following year. Lefty also collaborated with rap heavyweights like Neto Peña, Guerra MX, MC Davo, Toser One, Darius, and Hambi Alfavo. He was arguably Mexico's biggest rapper until the tragic incident occurred. September 2nd, 2023, Lefty and his wife, Isa Mary, were lying in bed when 3 armed assailants broke in and attempted to forcibly remove him from his home. Unable to do so, they resorted to violence, opening fire and fleeing the scene. Lefty was shot twice, rushed to the hospital, but died from his injuries at approximately 1:15 a.m. His final performance, just the night prior, at Teatro Metropolitan in Mexico City, now stands as a haunting memory for all his fans. So, who's responsible? I'd be lying to you if I said I was 100% sure the armed men were cartel sicarios, but at the same time, many suggest it was CJNG members, being that Lefty lived in their city. But more recently, it's been said that his closest friends suggest it was a guy named LOV who wanted him dead. LOV said to have some cartel connections, so all fingers still point to the CJNG. But whether or not they had a hand in his murder, Lefty SM would be remembered for his legacy in the Mexican rap scene for generations to come.
Man, the cartel bugging. Like, nah, CJNG, they're wilding, bro. I need to see a CJNG documentary ASAP because they're losing it, bro. Also, Smoke Purp told y'all niggas, cartel outside, cartel outside. Something about don't come outside because cartel outside. I'll probably put the snippet in here somewhere around this time. Damn, Lefty. RP, bro. Well, you had a bad one, bro. You was doing it up. What? See, it's probably with situations where it's like, why would I leave my not state, but the place I was born at? But like, they want you, and they gonna come get you. Now, if Cartel didn't do it, and it was LOV, bro, you still could have left it. You could still left Mexico. On God, I would have got out of there. Like, what are we doing? Not staying here. And then Cuba. I mean, QBA. Bro, you was a crash out. You might get 175 years. Because you thought they was rivals. And they weren't. Where they were students. Like, were y'all not speaking the same language? Could you not understand that they were students? And what would have been the harm of just dropping their ass off somewhere? Or back to where they was at? Like, and then they praise you as a hero. Like, you ain't torture and smoke 3 niggas. I get it. You snitched on the cartel. You was a brave motherfucker. Because I promise you, it's not going to amount to nothing. The cartel run this. Unless they send somebody else in that cannot be influenced by the cartel to be like, yeah, we going to stop this. The cartels is going to run this shit forever. That's the end of the video, man. Like, comment, subscribe. Make sure y'all share the video, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Stay safe out there, y'all.
I'm a cowboy, can't stop me, ain't till it's to come. All this pain got me feeling the comments. See these games turn me into a monster. Hey, I'm a cowboy, can't stop me till it's to come. All this pain got me feeling the comments. See these games turn me into a monster. I'm a cowboy, can't stop, can't stop. Hey, all that pain got me feeling jaded. Many with the road when to make it. Still plugged into the mix, but lagging out before the update. Drop back in different times, same location.